All right, so good morning or good afternoon to everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. You are at the first of two webinars about career guidance for women in geospatial data science. Before we start, I want to introduce myself and introduce the four organizations that teamed up to put on this event. So my name is Carmel Suchard. I'm the moderator today. I'm an early career GIS analyst, and I'm a volunteer for Women Plus in Geospatial. Women Plus in Geospatial is a global professional network of more than 5,500 women in 149 countries. We run an active community on the Circle platform and on LinkedIn, where you can connect with other professionals, ask for advice, and hear about job opportunities. We host events like this one, and we also run a yearly mentorship program. So if any of those things sound interesting to you, you can check out these links or find us across the internet. Second is the Cloud-Native Geospatial Foundation. Their mission is to collaborate with geospatial data practitioners to create vendor-neutral events, content, and educational opportunities that make geospatial data easier to access and to use. They also have a new membership program, and if you'd like to get involved, you can find them on the internet or follow this QR code. Next up is Development Seed. They are an engineering and product company that is accelerating the application of Earth data to our biggest global challenges. They leverage massive Earth data, cloud computing, geospatial AI, and thoughtful product development to level up your data scientists and empower decision makers with a clear view of a rapidly changing planet. And this is where you can go to find out more. And finally, the last organization is Element 84, which is a woman-owned small business that works with public, private, and nonprofit sector clients to develop geospatial data processing pipelines and build software that helps answer big questions about our health, infrastructure, and our changing planet. And this is where you can go to find them across the web. So any of those organizations would be great to follow up on if the topics that we're talking about today are interesting to you. All right. And before we actually really get started, I have one more quick set of introductions. They will talk a lot more about themselves in a minute, but let me introduce you all to our four amazing panelists who have generously agreed to be here. So real quick, Linda Stevens' journey in geospatial began in the 1980s as a geographer, programmer, and technical evangelist at Esri. Her career reflects various experiences from digitizing and developing geospatial algorithms to becoming an industry expert, chief marketing officer, and advisor. Welcome. For 25 years, Dr. Chelle Gentemann studied the sea from space. Now she works at NASA headquarters as the Open Science Program Scientist on Intergovernmental Personnel Act assignment from the International Computer Science Institute. Amazing. Thank you for being here. Lauren Frederick is the Chief Technology Officer at Element 84. With a background in software development, her career spans several industries, including earth science, defense, and video games. Throughout her career, she held numerous leadership positions, igniting her passion for management, mentoring, and leadership. Thank you so much for being here. And finally, Melani Abuel has been a proponent for the digitization of water utilities in Manila, and a key technical resource for GIS development across growth areas in Asia. Today, she works as a management executive at Accenture under the strategy and consulting group that aims to promote GIS as a key growth enabler in business. So there's your quick introduction to everyone. Today's webinar, so now we got that out of the way, let me tell you what's happening today. Today's webinar is going to be in two parts. First, each of our four panelists is going to take over the screen and present for about 6 to 8 minutes. It's okay if it goes a little bit longer. They will introduce themselves, talk about their career journey, the projects that they're most proud of, challenges that they faced, and through that, hopefully give us some insight and advice into professional growth in this field. And then after we get through everyone, we'll open the floor to question and answer. So you'll have two options. Using the yellow raise hand button on Zoom, you'll be able to indicate that you have a question, and I'll call on you in the order that the questions were raised. If you'd rather not speak, you'll also be able to write a question in the chat, but we'll go over that again after everyone's spoken. So we'll try to get into as many questions as possible, but we will end this webinar at 10 minutes past the hour at the very latest. So we all know that there's a definitive end time. Okay, that's all for my speaking and my introductions. Our first panelist is Linda. So if you'd like, you can take it away.
Well, thank you everybody for coming. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you today. I'm just gonna kind of dive right in. I've been in this field for about 40 years, so it's been a long journey. I'm gonna start at the beginning and just kind of skip along the surface of it, but we can dive deep if you guys have any questions. But so I'm Linda Stevens. I'm a geographer. I kind of put these in order of how I think of myself. I'm a geographer, an advocate for the earth, geospatial and GIS professional. I have also dive a lot into technology that touches the geospatial space. I kind of got pushed into the marketing space early on in my career and was the chief marketing officer at Esri for about 30 years. And I also advise companies since I have spent a lot of time sort of at the table, the exec table at Esri, which is the largest GIS company currently in the market. So I'm going to just talk a little bit. I see my career sort of in 4 phases. And I think it's important because to think of it this way, because it's not really a singular path. It kind of weaves and sometimes you go back and forward. So I started off as a student at UCLA. I was going to be I didn't know what I was going to be. I was a communications major, which is what marketing is. I took every computer science class they had. In those days, there wasn't a lot, but it was all in the engineering department and I didn't want to be an engineer. So I accidentally stumbled on a geography class and then fell in love with it and just kind of spent my last year and a half just doing geography. And those 3 things, as you'll see, sort of wrap together into my journey. They sort of kind of helped me with my path, and they kind of wove in and out of my life since then. So my first job is I went home. I grew up in Redlands, California, which is where Esri or ESRI at the time was founded. And I got a summer job there, living at home, trying to save some money. I was in grad school and I was a digitizer. So I started off just putting maps, put data in. But at the same time, I was teaching myself ArcInfo at night and got sort of tagged to start doing and building and coding because of my coding background. So I started to build the data dictionary for the Air Force project. Esri was 100% a service organization back then. We didn't really have a product, but the product started to get developed. We were on prime computers, and so I started to go out and build prototypes, early models for electrical networks and making maps. And so we would call ourselves the GIS ninjas. We'd go around the world trying to convince people that GIS was better than CAD. And I just spent my early career basically on the road, sort of pushing this idea that geography is important to how you think and how we model our world. And I started to be focused on those markets that really exploded. And one of those was utilities. So I became the utility industry person, started to build that out in the early days where there was strong competition. And then it wasn't really until my 3rd phase where I started to see myself having a career. At one point, I had to decide if I was going to do technology, become a programmer, or move into more of an advocate sort of out there in the world. And this where it comes into the woman space at that time, and it's probably still true. Esri is male dominated. The CTO did not like working with women, especially when it had opinions. And so that path was pretty much shut down. My only option on that path was to be a documentation person, and I wasn't somebody who's going to sit and just do documentation. So at that point, I really then started to push hard into a different path. And that's where I kind of tapped into my communications background and started to just expand into sort of this, how can I tell the world about the value of GIS, what GIS is, what geography is. And so as the CMO of Esri, my job was to promote and modernize geography. So we started working with National Geographics, was to say GIS is the technology that modernizes geography, so branding GIS, and then saying that Esri is the best tool for that. And at that point, I was the only woman director at Esri. There was about, I want to say 7 or 8 of us at the table. And I got to see GIS go from, nothing to where it is today. And so Esri, I think when I left, was $1 billion revenue company, or apparently, and it just continues to grow. And now I left Esri for the same reasons why I didn't want to stay and be a technologist. Esri is still very much male dominated. Wanted to sort of sit back and do and ride out that long path of productivity. And I was still wanting to expand and grow and evolve GIS. And Esri was kind of in that mode where, we're now a stable company. We're very stable. We're an enterprise company. We just kind of ride out that. And I wasn't ready for that. So I left and became an advisor, a mentor, and I would say disruptor, because I still don't think GIS is at all where it needs to be. I think we're still back in the 80s. So I'm trying to figure out how we can push GIS forward so it can keep up with all the amazing things that are going on in technology. And so my first I just have a few slides about kind of my big takeaways, and there's a lot we could dive into, but, nothing goes as planned, right? When I was out there traveling around the world as a technology person, just, Hong Kong, Greece, Greek Navy, doing things with National Geographics, going around the world, showing stuff to utilities. I thought that I was just programming all the time. I thought that's what I'm going to be and that's what I'm going to do. And then all of a sudden, a wall just came right up in front of me. And so I had to adjust. So nothing really goes how it's planned, and it's probably a good thing, right? Life brings us opportunities. And so my first piece of advice is, just think about what your strengths and passions are. I was passionate about geography, and I was really good at explaining complex subjects in a simple way and being able to demonstrate that. And so instead of doing that one-on-one, doing demos and such, I pivoted to marketing because I could have a bigger voice, and never thought I would be a CMO. It's not my passion, but if you know Esri, I actually was pretty good at it. We grew to a pretty large company. So discover your strengths. The other thing, my other point is, you always have to be learning. Like, I didn't know what the heck I was doing most of the time when I got in an like when I did the Hong Kong benchmark, which was, Jack put me, when I was leaving in the middle of the night to catch the plane, Jack pulled me aside and said, look, if you don't win this, Esri's going to go under. Like, we can't make payroll. Like, oh, no pressure here. I was like 26 and I'm going to Hong Kong to do this massive benchmark test. And so did I know that I could do it? No, but I knew I was going to try my hardest, and I was the best person at that point, and Jack trusted me to do it. So learn, but take risks. You're going to be out of your comfort zone a lot of the time if you're trying to push forward in your career, and challenge yourself. Take those things that make you feel uncomfortable sometimes. The other thing is, nothing stays the same, no matter how we want it to, how much we wish it to. Change happens. People get hired. We win things, we lose things. The industry changes or whatever. Embrace that change. And as opportunities come to you, evaluate them, consider them. And I would say embrace them. Look at those unsought opportunities as things that are sort of being brought to you because maybe that's a path you need to go on. The other thing is, because this is a woman seminar, I can guarantee you will be pushed down. It's just the way the world works, especially in the technology industry. It's still very male dominated. Somebody asked me in a podcast, I don't really think it's changed that much, but what's changed is us, right? And so, you know, there's a couple things to remember. Even while you're getting pushed down, you do have advocates. Often you don't know who those advocates are. I was at the exec table. Like I said, I was the only woman exec at Esri, and I was privy to a lot of conversations where they forgot I was the only woman in the room, right? And I can tell you that there are people out there that will advocate for you, and push and to help push you forward. There's other people that are pushing you down, but there are people out there that are helping you. So don't get too don't let that bother you too much. Keep pushing for what you think is right. Another thing that's really important for me is early on, there was somebody I was working for who was just not the right person. And that actually affects your work more than the work you do. So who you work for is as important as what you do. When I became CMO, initially, Jack wasn't going to let me be an executive. It was only men at the table. And it was like, okay, Linda, you can't be at the table. And I said, okay, then I don't want the job, right? Because I couldn't do the job. It wasn't about that. You can't be an executive and not be an executive at the table. And so he let me be at the table. So I started working for Jack early on and had a seat at the table. So you have to know who you work for and what your responsibilities and your powers are all related. Don't accept anything less, or you won't be able to do your job. The other thing is define your own path. So I didn't become the CMO and then let all the other directors tell me what marketing is, because trust me, everybody will do that. They'll tell you how to do your job. Instead, I defined what marketing was at Esri, and it wasn't what everybody else was doing in Silicon Valley. We had a different approach. And so I defined it and kept pushing in the way that I knew was best for the company. And so you have to be your own definer of your own career path. And the other thing that I've noticed is the higher up you go, the more value you're bringing, but you're also going to be attacked more and more, because as you go up the ladder, you're going to have more and more competition. There's less positions for the role you want. So by the time I made it up to the level where I was going to be a CMO, the other executives didn't want to relinquish any of their power, right? So the more you go up, the more you get attacked. So in some ways, it's a good thing, right? You know that you're making progress, that you're causing some disruption, some change, but it also can be really, really hard. Many nights where I didn't think I was going to be able to come back the next day, right? Because of the viciousness of what can happen at that sort of exec level. And then finally, don't let any other people define you. Make sure that you know and stay true to you, right? So early on in my career, it's like, oh, Linda, there's a few directors. I know this sounds silly, but they would explain to people that, oh, Linda's just a little D director, not a big D director. And so I could have just sat back and go, okay, that's just those guys doing that. But no, I sent an email out to my entire team and said, this is this is not true, right? Push back, stake your claim, stop any crap that goes on, and then move forward, right? And then also embrace and welcome people that want to help and that will help you. And that comes at all levels, right? One of my simplest examples is I had a really great relationship with our travel department, because I traveled all the time. I pretty much was never home, around the world. And they were so great. I would buy them flowers and on difficult trips and stuff like that. Most of my other colleagues were just horribly rude, right? This is the day we had to print tickets out. And so, I always got the best seats, right? You get the best hotels, you get the best everything. These people want to help you, and they're going to help you as the way in what they can help you with, no matter if they're the travel department or if they're, the CIO or whatever, right? So, keep your eye out for all those beautiful, wonderful people out there that are willing to help you and give back, right? It's a help them whenever you can. So let me think. I think I have a bit. So speaking of helping, like one of my things now that I'm in a better position is I help people, I connect with people. I often will do sessions with people that are trying to figure out career journeys. There's some podcasts at my website. I'm an individual contributor, whatever you want to call it. Spatial Spirits is the name of my company, the website. And I have some podcasts I've done there. One of them is on women in tech, some of the things that I ran into as a woman in the tech industry from the early days of the 80s. That's when we were meeting with the Oracle, right? We were meeting with Larry Ellison, who we almost collaborated with, and then we had this breakup. Autodesk, the early days of Autodesk, Prime Computers, Sun Computers, right? So I know that journey, and it hasn't changed much. The tech's changed, but people take a lot longer to change. On LinkedIn, I have a group called Geospatial Innovation. We do a monthly live call where we talk about innovation. This month, we're talking with Jed from Cloud-Native Geo about what Cloud-Native Geo is. It's a new concept for most folks in GIS. So please join that if you can. And then just connect with me on LinkedIn. I have a Calendarly invite, and just schedule some time if you want to do a one-on-one just to help women as they kind of make their journey through their career. And then I also have a Substack called Reimagining Geospatial. So my real goal is to push geospatial, kind of get it out of that rut it's in, sort of that 90s ruts of we're just going to automate map and do some analysis work, and move it into sort of more of a modern paradigm, and hopefully allow it to be able to have more impact on how we manage our world. And that's it. So thank you very much. And like I said, any questions, we can take them at the end. So thank you very much.
That was fantastic. I really enjoyed hearing about all that. It's wild that while we're here trying to like get our crow to do what we want, you were there like inventing GIS in the first place. It's amazing. I hope we have enough time at the end to talk more about what your hopes are for the future, what GIS is not currently doing.
Okay.
Okay. Amazing. Our next panelist is Chelle. Do you want to?
Yeah, so I don't have a presentation. I was just going to speak for a few minutes. Linda, I was just sitting here clapping the whole time you were speaking. You're going to think that we coordinated talks, but we actually didn't. We all were just given a couple of questions to think about, and maybe that helps us think of same things. But I love this learning new things and this GIS ninjas and being a disruptor, and also this advice that when you encounter barriers, and you're going to throughout your career, think carefully. Is this when I have the energy and this is when it's appropriate to push? Or is this when it's better for me, or when this is the right thing? It's just find a different solution, because there's a lot of different paths in the world. And that ability to be agile throughout your career, I think, is so, so important. So thank you for sharing that. That was just incredible. And one of the questions that we got was like, if you could go back in time, what would you tell yourself? How did you get your first job? And I sort of wanted to start with that. And I think the things that I could tell myself would be competitive, but only with yourself. Be generous. And in a competitive field, it can be really scary to be generous, but do it anyway. And be courageously social. So balance spending time with colleagues that you already know, and just walking up to tables with people that you don't know and introducing yourself. Or like Linda said, follow on LinkedIn. And especially there's so many people who have probably seen this webinar on LinkedIn and liked it. Search them out, because that's a community for you. So my career, so from a young age, I wanted to be an astronaut and an oceanographer. And I wasn't really sure how to combine those, but I thought I would. And I think I actually somehow have. So in second grade, I was put in this talented and gifted program because all I wanted to do was math. And I love doing math, and that's all I wanted to do. I got early acceptance to MIT. Then I got a master's. Then I got a PhD. Then I was invited to join some science committees, and then I chaired those committees. I won some awards. I got invited to the National Academy of Science committees. Then I co-chaired 2 National Academy of Science committees. I was the science lead on a $200 million proposed new science mission to NASA. And now I work at NASA headquarters. And so maybe that seems like one thing just flowed into another, but it did not feel that way. And very similar to Linda, it was one thing after another that did not go as planned. And I had to scramble and figure out what was next. And a lot of that was actually reaching out to people and asking for help. And I did feel like once I was the mission lead, I take a minute. I said, wow, I actually did this. I did what I dreamed of as a kid. And it wasn't easy, but I'm a scientist. And I do think it was much, much harder than it needed to be. And if I could go back after doing all these things and give myself advice, that advice, like I thought about what would that be? So when I got to MIT, and maybe some of you have this same insecurity, I was 100% convinced that they had completely made a mistake, and that at any minute, someone was going to walk into the lecture hall, like one of the big ones with like 400 people, and they're going to pull the professor aside and quietly whisper. And then the professor was going to look out into the classroom and say, "Can Chelle Gentemann please stand up, because we need to talk to you in the office?" Because I was completely convinced it was a mistake. And this low self-esteem, combined with working in a male-dominated, very competitive field, meant that when men told me I should leave the field, spoke over me during my presentations, sexually harassed me, or misappropriated my work and took credit, I often didn't feel like I could say anything or that I could push back in any way. I thought that the price of being in the room meant that I had to be quiet. And I had to balance this a little bit, because obviously I couldn't be quiet all the time and still move forward. But part of the result of that was that I thought I had to work 10 times harder than every other person in the room just to keep up. And that meant that I undervalued my contributions. And I don't think this is an accident, really. Like, how did I lose all of that confidence that I had as a 7-year-old? And I know I'm not alone, because being different is really hard until we have more people. And until we have more people who are different, it's going to continue to be hard and isolating. But I don't think it has to be that way anymore, because so much has changed since I started my career, especially online. And so given this reality, I think the most powerful thing I can share with you, it's not a story about making a cloud optimized data set for the cloud, or learning Python, or learning how to network, or find a mentor. I think Linda said, learn, just learn. Like, that's true. And I believe that you can do all of this on your own. And I think the most powerful thing I can share is that you are enough. You're here at a webinar learning about your career with other women, and listening and trying to learn. You're already doing this. Value yourself, value your work, value your contributions, and advocate for them. And so what does that sort of really mean? I mean, I'm not saying to put positive affirmation stickies on your mirror, but if that helps, go ahead and do it. For me, that means surrounding yourself with a community and with mentors who not only believe in you, but also empower you, and they challenge you. So learn new skills with them. In any community that you're in, find somebody who knows more than you do about something and talk to them about it. So ask for help. People want you to succeed, and let them help you. And then my challenge to you is turn around and find the person who is just a little bit newer than you or right behind you and help them. That's how we're getting to having more women in the field, to having more different people. And that was the secret to my success. Like early in my career, I found a community and they supported me. They helped me write my first paper and they helped me with grant applications. And we advocated and supported for each other. And we were so competitive, all of us, but we were competitive with ourselves and generous with others. So give credit always. And if you aren't sure about credit, ask and give credit. And because I want to give one specific action to help you, I think it's also important to work as openly as possible because you'll meet people, I promise. Join an open source project or a community. Find a community on LinkedIn, find a community on Reddit or wherever, a Slack workspace, but work in the open because this will protect you and give you options. You will always have access to your work if you work on GitHub in the open and you share, you publish blogs. You don't need to publish in academic journals. You can do that, but you can also do Medium posts and share your code and share your results. If you do something cool, write a post about it, share it. And no matter where you end up or how you move around, or what barriers you encounter, you will always retain access to your work if it's in the open. So include the right to share your data, code, and results online with an open license in any agreement that you sign wherever you're going to work if you can. Because you'll gain a community so that when things go wrong, whether it's code that breaks, or you're struggling to write a paper, or you all of a sudden need a new job, that community will be there for you. So going back to those first points, like be courageously social. So this is a big event. Find them on LinkedIn. Look at who's liked this event. Say hi, because you're both here and I bet you have a lot in common. And building a community, if you don't already have one, it just starts with 2 people. Be generous, acknowledge everyone you talk to, you work with, everything. Because working with more people doesn't take away from your achievements. It shows your ability to lead and collaborate. And again, be competitive, and only with yourself. So help others, but make sure you do it when you have time because you need to have a balanced life. So do your work and help others, but having boundaries around time for families and friends, because the best way to have your work be the best is if you're happy and healthy, you're more creative and you're more courageous. And now there are more of us. And like Linda said, I think we all have each other's backs now. So screw being quiet. We're here and we can be loud. So thank you. And I wish you all the best of luck. And again, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's the best way to get hold of me. So thank you. I'm also on Twitter and Insta. IG is, I think, what they call it. I'm trying. Thank you.
You are also amazing. I'm so honored that you agreed to come on here and share these amazing stories. And I think we all have to be grateful to you and Linda for paving the way. I'd like to think things are a little bit better these days, but maybe not. Maybe we can get into more specific stories. But yeah, we really appreciate all this, everything that you had to go through to get us to this point. And I personally, like, a lot of my thinking is like, oh, should I spend time learning this new coding language? Or, you know, but none of it matters if you're not going to do everything that you said about building a community and doing it openly and just having the right attitude about it, and being generous with others. That's so important to remember. So thank you so much for sharing. I hope we get to ask more questions at the end. And by the way, any resources that everyone talks about, we're going to compile them all at the end and send them in the email after the second webinar, if you didn't catch any of those. Okay, next up, Lauren.
Thank you. Those it was really amazing to hear you both talk. I swear we did not coordinate. You're going to see very similar themes within my talk as well. So that's why it's so powerful to hear the other women talk actually and say very similar things to what I am going to say. So I come from a very technical background and stumbled into geospatial about 8.5 years ago. So my trajectory is all software engineering. very technical. And like Chelle talked about, I actually had the same experience at the University of Pennsylvania where I was like, I think it's a mistake that I am even here. They're going to come and kick me out. Like I was scraping by there in the computer science program. It was a really hard program. I fell in love with coding. I still love it. Not so much computer engineering and theory and physics and calculus, all things I had to do to get my degree. And what my dad told me was get through it and you will get the same degree as everybody else. Your grades will not matter once you leave this school. And that was right. I did get the same degree as the guys in my program, basically. But what happened was my challenge coming out of college, I started working at EA Sports right out of college, and I had literally zero confidence. My confidence was shot after college. And I had major imposter syndrome. And I am not saying I was on a predominantly male, I was on an all-male team. And it was just me coming into an all-male team. I was working on football. So it's like computer science and football is like the perfect recipe for an all-male team. And I would never talk in meetings ever because I would be in my head, like, what could I possibly have to offer this conversation? Like, I have no idea what I'm talking about. Again, zero confidence. And I had a manager pull me aside at that time and tell me, you have to talk in meetings. So that was really transformational for me. And then I haven't shut up since. So it worked out. But that was before there was like any kind of diversity push. We were talking about anything like diversity in thought. This is all pre-Me Too movement. I like to tell myself things changed after that. So another struggle for me was advocating for myself in an all-male team. And this is really echoing what Chelle and Linda already talked about. But I was trying to fit in, like figure out how to fit in, deal with the sexual harassment, not be that girl who's going to come in and change the team dynamics or complain or things like that. And I was internalizing a lot of things. And I actually really hate talking about this. Chelle gave me some confidence talking about it herself, but this is not, I learned a lot. Overall, it was a great experience, but certain parts of it are not necessarily parts I like to relive. I like to tell myself that the industry is different now that there's more women, and I don't see that as much going on. There's more inclusion and diversity and equity efforts going on. So what I did here was there were other women in the building and I made friends with them. And you're going to see, just echoing what everybody said, but you're going to see a theme in mind that people, your relationships are huge for your career. And this is what's going to be transformational. So having other women who were looking out for me, who I could talk to about this, maybe they weren't programmers or weren't in my department, but we had that group. We had a resource group for women too, and we would meet with them. And that really helped me build the confidence, watching how they deal with some of these things to kind of learn how I could deal with it. So then I had some other jobs, and then I got into Element 84 8.5 years ago as a mid-level software engineer and started working at on a NASA project, which that's where I learned about geospatial. I worked up to be the architect on their ingest and archive system on the program that I was working on. And I had kind of more technical challenges coming into this one. So I was learning a brand new language, and this is like a lot more tactical in programming, but use Pluralsight to teach that to myself. And then I'm going to get into the people again. Code reviews are, I think, invaluable. So anytime you're doing work, having somebody review that and give you feedback, that there's just so much additional insight. I think we can throw something together that works, but having somebody come in to help and review what you're doing and say like, well, maybe you could have done it this way, and being receptive to that feedback, I think is really huge, especially when you're early career and you're learning, being receptive to the feedback. I had to learn the cloud for this one. So I hadn't done any cloud work. For that, AWS certification trainings have been, they're still teaching me because I still maintain a cert to know all of this stuff. And it's been really helpful. And then for the geospatial stuff, sometimes people talk and I furiously Google, or I ask ChatGPT to explain things to me because I don't have that geospatial background. I have the software development background, so I'm more comfortable there. The answers to all this stuff are out there. You can get the answers. It's just doing the work to find them and asking a lot of questions and building those relationships. So then some important skills is I'm hiring. We have open positions right now. So what I'm looking for is I hire, this is also really tactical, is for the technical side, I am much more of a soft skill person. I think you can teach all the technical if you have the right soft skills. So if you can complete a task in your programming language of choice, that's great. I think the cloud certs are a boost because the tests are very serious. We know that you have to know some stuff to be able to pass. And then for the cloud, basic storage and compute options. So that's very tactical stuff. For the soft skills, this I think is probably the most important. I think you need to know when and how to ask questions. So if somebody, so this is something that I did very early in my career. I always got great reviews on this, is that I wasn't afraid to go ask when I needed help. You don't want to be stuck spinning your wheels all the time. So you want to try a few things and then go ask and be able to say, I'm struggling with this. Here are a few things that I've tried and they're not working. Can you help me? And I think that's huge for early career. Communication accurately, proactively, and transparently. Like, you don't want to be in your stand-up every day saying the same thing. You want to be able to make forward progress and tell someone when you're stuck, and again, ask for help. We talked in this about always learning. To be able to learn, you need to have a desire for constructive feedback. And I had originally put on this slide that you need to be able to take constructive feedback, but it's not just that. That's just surface level. You need to want constructive feedback. You need to want to be continually learning and growing. And you don't need to have all the answers. And this was something that I told myself throughout my career, is if I didn't know something, I would beat myself up. I would internalize it. But being able to get the answers is a very valuable skill. Knowing who to ask, knowing where to go for the answers, that's all valuable. So don't beat yourself up if you don't know something. You need to know how to go get it. Okay, so my career advice, and this is again echoing what everybody else said, I think your network is everything. I don't think you need to be spending all your free time going to networking events. We had some real examples of great ways to connect with other people in the industry, other women in the industry, and people at your job. I think there can be a sentiment that's like, I come to work, I'm not here to make friends, I do my job, and then I clock out for the day. And I think if that is your standpoint, I think you're leaving a lot on the table in terms of relationships, because relationships can help propel your career. So I have 4 people that I like to surround, or types of people that I like to surround myself with. We talked about this one a little bit, but someone who cares about your career development and will give you honest feedback and advice. There are people who will advocate for you. There are people who want to see you succeed. Go seek them out and then have them give you honest feedback. You don't have to take it. You just have to consider it. Another one is someone technical with whom you can ideate solutions. So I like to, when I'm between maybe a few technical options, I like to go rubber duck with a person and go talk through some different solutions. Someone who you look up to and you want to be like, I think that helps see where you could go in your career. I've always struggled with goals. I'm like, I don't know, but looking at what other people are doing helps you build yourself a roadmap, and talking to that person and figuring out what they did and how they got there. And then I like to have someone who's in a similar position to me in another industry just to see what they're doing. I think we can learn from other industries. It's a diversity of thought thing again. And Chelle was talking about being generous. Please do this for others. This is how we build a community. It's not about taking, it's about giving. Guarantee when you're mentoring someone, you will learn from them. I learn from people I mentor all the time. I'm like, oh, that's actually a great approach. I'm going to start doing that myself. I like how you handled that. So it has to be give and take. It's both. And I think, like Linda and Chelle said, you want to always be learning. The goal is not perfection. It is continuous improvement. And if you are hungering for continuous improvement, you will go far. You won't be beating yourself up. You're just trying to get better and better each day. So that's my advice, is to build and utilize your network and also give back and build that community. So that's what I have. I am happy to connect as well. My email is really easy. It's lauren@element84.com, and I am on LinkedIn.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of that, Lauren. We really appreciate hearing more specific advice about how to build that community and the sort of people that you want around you. And just by being here, everyone's already doing that. You can connect with any of our panelists, with any of the organizations that I talked about at the beginning, especially Women Plus and Geospatial. There's like so many women on there, and you can, they all work in all sorts of different fields, so you can easily message any of them and get more information about what they're doing. Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing. Our last panelist is Melani.
Hello everyone. I hope you can hear me, and I hope my internet connection serves me well. So yeah, thank you for inviting me in this talk. So actually, I have my slide I will share towards the end, but I'll just share through my personal story and how hopefully it could help other women within geospatial. So currently, I'm leading the Accenture Industry X strategy and consulting practice here in Manila. So it's just a new team, and I'm focusing on optimizing the engineering and manufacturing process using Gen AI, data science, and digital transformation for enterprise asset management. So that's when I got the link from GIS, because GIS links with all the other systems like SCADA, CRM, and whatnot. So it gave me a position in the field somehow. And I was leading a team of engineers as well, so from different backgrounds. But actually, I am a graduate of geodetic engineering here in the Philippines. But it didn't come easy. I say it wasn't linear at all, because I have to stop before I graduate. On my third year, I got pregnant, and I got 2 kids before I actually went back to studying in college, because I got bored at, at at our home, waiting for my husband to come back. So I just decided, okay, I'll just study again. And then yeah, I pursued my study in geodetic engineering, and then I graduated after my second child, and then I finished my degree, and then I took the board exam, and I placed in the top 10. So I think that was the goal for me. Like, at least I did not graduate on time. At least put me on top of the board exam so that I can land in a good job. That's basically my mindset at that time. So yeah, it was a pretty good experience, and I was like when I went to India just this year, I was like telling my story to one of the GIS leads there, and she said, like, go ahead and you should tell your story with all the other women in the with all other women in our it's something that's inspirational, because like you have kids, and then you get to pursue your career, and that's one thing that's like could inspire other people, right? So I was here like I was just listening to Linda and Chelle and Lauren. I was thinking, can I just listen to all of you, because I need all those advice as well. But yeah, I would like to share that my piece of my piece of experience as well. So after placing in the board exam, I felt like there's not much opportunity in the GIS field as of the moment when I graduate. So I pursued my master's in geomatics engineering within the same university in the Philippines. And then while working in a government funded research, so tectonics modeling for Philippine Fault Zone using differential GPS. So it kind of linked because I'm doing my first job is around number crunching and programming, and it gave me like a good um, springboard towards how it works in the industry as well, and how it goes into the working in the research part. So when I graduated, when I finished that project, that's when I started really working on the GIS field as a specialist in a water utility here in Manila. So why did I choose GIS? Because I don't want to do surveying. That's part of my work. So I was gonna choose like GI. Genetic engineering is like a quite a big field, and I have to choose: do I want to do remote sensing? Do I want to do geomatics, geodesy, surveying? So I just chose GIS because I want to stay in the office and just won't get burned in the sun. So yeah, I chose it, and it's a good field. And I never knew that actually GIS has a lot more to offer. And I never really knew in the university that it can integrate with all the systems. And I think one of the most striking or most important project that I've been is really enterprise asset management. I was listening to Linda all the time when she was saying that she's doing it for the utilities and everything. Oh, I got to connect with Linda as well. But really, it's just so amazing that just learning. It was just looking at the map for me, but. I thought it was just research, and I thought it was just number crunching. And then I realized, oh, there's a lot there's a lot of things going on, and JS is really very powerful, and once you know it, it's like you're already a star, especially in the utilities, because it's like going into the value chain from generation, transmission, and distribution up to the customers. They really have to visualize where are all these connections, how is it like leaking in water leaks and all. How are you going to do it without GIS? So suddenly you're a star when you felt like you don't have a position, or you don't know where to put your place under. You, you you go into the utilities, and you will be like, they will love you because you are like, how it works on the you know your visuals, your maps, which is very powerful. And I think what's also important is that a bit of programming as well. So it's a good mix. And then yeah, so that's how I worked like 10 years in the industry, in the water utility industry, and then I came into strategy and consulting just 3 years ago. So I practically already work with the same industry, still working with the currently I'm working with the energy and water utility in Saudi as a consultant, and then also working on the GIS implementation there. And I've seen how it's actually quite the challenges of our industries are actually just almost the same, even if we're here in Manila and abroad. So it kind of give me like a good springboard to share how my experiences as from the industry, from my background, to actually solve those problems for our clients. So that's how um I kind of found my passion as well, because GIS is really related to climate change, sustainability. So I love how I can make an impact, and also learn from other people, and then actually earn from it. So it's very purposeful to pursue this field in GIS. So as I've mentioned, the projects and successes that I have, I think it's around really the asset management project back in 2012 when I was in the industry, that I learned how GIS can integrate with GIS, with EAM, SCADA, and even financial systems like SAP. So I learned all these platforms like SAP, Maximo, um, Hexagon, Oracle, everything linking it is of different platforms, but linking into the GIS, especially S3. So I love that I was able to, to, learn it from the industry. And I think one of the most important picture that I have is a photo with Jack Dangermond when we won the special achievement in GIS award in 2017 for that EAM project. And then I learned risk management, and then everything, criticality assessment on the asset management side. It gave me really a good springboard, and to propel my career as a consultant, and also as a GIS specialist. And yeah, so in terms of yeah, I'll share I'll share my screen quickly to show just quick pictures of wait, I'll share my screen. Okay, can you see it? Can you already see it? Sorry.
Yes, we can see your screen, but it's white.
Okay. Yeah. So I would just like to share with you some photos of what I have here. So here are my kids. Like I have an 18-year-old, 17-year-old, and 11-year-old. My daughter just turned 18, and we love to travel. That's why I've mentioned. So our last three countries are in Japan, in China, and then in Vietnam. So it's some sort of bonding activity for us as well to um shade it on the map. We have like a scratch map. This is what mommy do. I do something on the map, so it's easier for us to explain what I'm doing. But yeah, that's what we love to do, and this is my team here in Manila in strategy and consulting. So it's a mix of all the engineering field because we do optimization for engineering and manufacturing industries, so across different industries as well. So we're quite proud to service different clients globally, not just in GIS but in enterprise asset management, production planning, and whatnot. No, so and also I came from India just this year in Bangalore to have that product increment planning with my team as and meet with our clients, which is based out of Saudi. It gave me an opportunity to network with a lot of nationality as well, as they are working with the experts within the utility industry, energy, water, and hydrogen. So it gives me like a breadth of experience, not just in GIS but across the different systems as well. And then I'm quite proud in terms of accepting this award from the university that I never thought I'd graduate from a few years, because I got the what they call a standing alumni in private practice, which is very important to me because it kind of affirm that what I did in the GIS field, even if I started, I don't say wrong footing because I did not graduate in time, but really, um, you know, working through it like step by step. It's not an easy path because I have, of course, apart from being a woman, I was also juggling between being a mom and also, being a wife, and now focusing on my career. So I think, yeah, it's something that reaffirms me, and it's good to also give back. Like when I was invited to my previous um high school wherein I was able to talk before a graduating class, it kind of gave me like a deeper purpose on how I would want to share my experience, and how we can have a name under the sun, even if our experience is not really how it's linear, or as straight as possible. And then of course, as I've mentioned, I'm very proud of this because I have like a fan photo with Jack Dangermond when we received the S3 User Conference, S3 Special Achievement in GIS Award in 2017. And I will treasure this, and I hope I'll get a photo of him again with him again. But yeah, I'll give some few skills advice. I think it's one thing is aligning with an industry. Um, Aligning with an industry, meaning because when I graduate, I felt like I have to work outrightly because I have to earn, but I have to wait for the right opportunity, and find the right industry. So my husband just advised me that don't go grab any offer or any job that is available on the market, but find something that is within your areas of expertise or what you have learned on the university. So I tried to make sure that at least I tried to, even if I'm starting as a specialist or in a research, at least it's aligned with whatever I studied in the university. So, and until now, I find it really very valuable because I feel like it kind of built up my my credentials around the utilities, and spreads out from the utilities to the energy to the mining and all the other industries that are related to it. So it's really good in, align with an industry, find an industry that you find your purpose on, and then, build your credentials around it, and cultivate a lifelong learning. There's so much to learn. I feel like every day I'm not doing anything twice. So I'm doing things differently, solving problems for clients differently. They have different problems, and we have to be more strategic around it. So I think lifelong learning, we have like learning in our company, but of course there's a lot of learning opportunities for us like this, and also of course the technical skills and the functional skills we can learn, and then nurture strong connections. I think it's also very important that you build your network of experts, and also somebody who will advocate for you as well is very important. That was mentioned by all of our speakers, and I think it just truly resonates to me. No, and I think work life advice is, yeah, nurture strong connections and build a support network is very important. I think working on the industry that is male dominated is something that is of um like a disadvantage for some, but I find it like an advantage in a way for me, because like working with engineers, they kind of take care of me, and I can I can find also good mentors which are actually male. It's quite hard to find someone in the industry like the one I'm working in right now. They kind of find it hard to find a mentor for me, but and so my mentors are mostly male, and they would give me like life lessons that I will keep on until like, and I'm old, and I'll pass on to all my counselees as well. Like they would tell me, Mel, the things that will bring you to the next level is not the same things that you're doing that brought you here. So it's always something that I kind of resonate and keep in mind, that whatever I'm doing right now is something that I have to change, and I have to progress, and I have to really cope up. So I think that's something like challenging yourself around it, and then own your achievement. I think that's very important. Be your self advocate. Nobody will advocate for you better than yourself. It's very important that you find strength within yourself, and that will help you propel, and um help others. Sometimes you feel like you're alone, but in reality people are already looking at you. And then by drawing strength from yourself, you can also encourage, and strength to others as well. And then set your boundaries. I think this is very important in a world right now that is very busy. Like I've just finished my shift at 10 o'clock p.m. and I feel like nobody, working on a global company, it's easy for you to get distracted and get contacted by these people at different time zones. But it's very important that you set your boundaries. You set time for travel, you set time for break, you set time for studying for yourself, because it's something that will help you as well to prioritize and find what is more important to you. Saying no to something gives you a chance to actually say yes to the more important things. So that is very important. And yeah, I think it's this ikigai chart is really something that is very resonating to how I find like purpose in my life, that doing something what you love, what you're good at, and what the world needs, and what can you be paid for, is something that would help us channel and find our ikigai. And to me it's like GIS. And I found it like for 15 years I've been doing the same thing, but it's something that is very fulfilling, and it's also something that I would love other women in our industry to really appreciate. And you can earn, it's something that you love, and you will definitely be good at, because um there's a lot of help around. So yeah,
Melanie,
thank you
thank
for
you so
everyone
much
for
for
listening.
sharing. Thank you so much for taking us through that, giving us all that great advice. Uh, we are right at the time, so unfortunately, I don't think we're going to have enough time for questions and answers. There's a few in the chat, the Q&A, and there's a few different themes floating in the questions and answers. The 3 themes are basically the topics that we talked about: how to have confidence and how to grow like in yourself, and how to advocate for yourself and your work. There's also a few questions about I work in this other industry, I want to get into geospatial, how can I go about that? And then how to connect with other people. So I think that's oh, and then some questions about like what technical skills should I be working on. That we didn't have time for all the questions. I would say all of those are great, and connect with Women Plus and Geospatial, Cloud-Native Geospatial Foundation, Element 84. Find them. Everyone's super on LinkedIn. So those are great places to connect with people and ask those questions when we have more time. I wish we had like time for like a full like session with every single one of our panelists, because you're all amazing and I think you give so much great advice. All right, thank you all so much for coming. Thank you to our panelists. Round of applause. Thank you for the participants. And we'll see you at the next one.